Cleopatra, the real story beyond her beauty. When people think of the last pharaoh of Egypt, one name comes to mind: Cleopatra. For centuries, Cleopatra has been the subject of films, books, and legends. She is generally known for her extraordinary beauty. However, her real story is far more fascinating than her appearance. Because although Cleopatra was the ruler of Egypt, she was not ethnically Egyptian. In 332 BC, Alexander the Great conquered Egypt. After his death, one of his generals, Ptolemy, took control of the country and declared himself pharaoh, establishing the Ptolemaic dynasty, which would rule for nearly 300 years. Cleopatra was a direct descendant of this dynasty. In other words, her ancestry traced back to the Macedonian Greeks. For centuries, members of the Ptolemaic dynasty preferred to marry within their own family, and most of them never even learned the language of the local people. However, Cleopatra became one of the figures who broke with this tradition. According to ancient sources, Cleopatra received an extraordinary education and could speak 9 languages fluently. Greek was her native language. In addition, she understood Latin and could communicate in several other languages, including the Egyptian language. Even more interestingly, she is believed to have been the first ruler of the Ptolemaic dynasty to learn the Egyptian language. Because of this, she was able to speak directly with her people without the need for an interpreter and converse with ambassadors from different countries in their own languages. This made her not only a ruler but also an exceptionally skilled diplomat. But what about her beauty? Today, the first thing that comes to mind when people hear the name Cleopatra is her beauty. However, historians believe that what truly made her remarkable was not her physical appearance, but her intelligence, her gift for public speaking, and her charismatic personality. In fact, some portraits found on ancient coins suggest that she may not have possessed the flawless beauty often portrayed in Hollywood films. What made her unforgettable was her ability to influence people through her words. One of the lesser-known details about Cleopatra is that she used her own signature perfume. Archaeological studies and ancient texts show that she placed great importance on pleasant fragrances. Researchers state that perfumes of the period were made using valuable botanical ingredients such as rose, cinnamon, and myrrh. Some modern recreations also suggest that the scents Cleopatra used may have been made from these kinds of ingredients. It is said that these rich and spicy fragrances left a powerful impression on the guests who visited her palace. One of the most important figures in Cleopatra's life was the famous Roman commander Marcus Antonius, better known as Mark Antony. The two formed both a political and romantic partnership. However, as the struggle for power in Rome intensified, their fate began to change. In 31 BC, they were defeated by Octavian at the Battle of Actium. After this defeat, Mark Antony took his own life. A short time later, Cleopatra also died. According to the most widely known account, she ended her life by allowing a venomous Egyptian cobra to bite her. However, many historians today believe that this story is not certain. Some argue that she may have used a poisonous mixture, while others believe that the exact cause of her death is still unknown. In other words, one of history's most famous death stories remains a subject of debate even today. According to ancient writers, Cleopatra's final wish was to be buried beside the man she loved, Mark Antony. Although historical sources state that this wish was fulfilled, the location of their tomb remains unknown. For years, archaeologists have searched across Egypt for this lost tomb, but no conclusive evidence has been found. Perhaps one of history's greatest mysteries is still waiting to be discovered somewhere along the banks of the Nile. Cleopatra was not merely the last pharaoh of Egypt. With her intelligence, diplomatic skill, multilingual abilities, and political influence, she became one of the most powerful leaders of the ancient world. And even though more than 2,000 years have passed since her death, her story continues to captivate people around the world.